Don't Worry, Darling is the newest film from director Olivia Wilde, who I don't know if she's done anything. Wait.
Yes.
I feel like we did watch something
that she directed.
But we don't know what it is, do we?
No. My phone's over there.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought we'd watch something else from her not too long ago. So this stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, and Christopher Pine. And it is about this idyllic life in this town called Victory. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everything is seemingly perfect. They've got this, like, you know, perfect 50s, all-American, ideal life. You know, if you're into that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I would say one woman really kind of starts, I guess, this idea into Florence Pugh's character that maybe not everything is what it seems. And this is kind of like a disease that starts infecting her mind and making her question maybe her life isn't so perfect and what is actually going on here.
Yep.
And so she tries to unravel this mystery while she unravels her life. So now, if you've seen the trailer, I will say you're going to have a pretty damn good grasp of what this film is going to be. Mm-hmm. I feel like the trailer is, for the most part, the film. I think that the film has some really strong visuals and that Olivia Wilde does a very good job with her artistic eye and that the soundtrack complements the film very well and it feels like, I was saying while we were watching it that it felt like if Jordan Peele wrote and directed a movie instead of for, you know, black people, it was for women. Right? That's the way it felt for me for sure. But what did you think of the film?
I really liked it. I was a big fan of it, and I think that, like you were saying about the soundtrack, it was one of my favorite parts because I think it just was very powerful. And sound design is definitely something that I think can get overlooked with horror movies. And I think that this film does a really good job incorporating it into the plot. Because it does, I think, kind of have a plot purpose in a way.
Sure.
So I loved that. I loved Florence Pugh's acting. I always think she does a great job every time I see her in anything. And she did a wonderful job in this. And you know, I like the message behind the movie. I think that they, you know, some people might dislike it and be triggered by it in some ways, but I really appreciate it. And, you know, I think it's scary to think about, you know, that there's people that really kind of hold that specific type of viewpoint.
Okay, couple things. Number one, do we think this is actually a genre film? Do we actually want to classify this as horror or more of a mystery thriller?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it probably is more mystery thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. The horror, of course, is in the concept and in the social commentary that's happening.
Yeah.
And the lived experience of women. But it's not horror in the sense of what most people think of when you think of horror.
Sure.
So I think mystery thriller would be more suited for it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's fine with me. I still think that it has some really, you know, like the artistic quality of the film, I think is why sometimes, I think this happens with thrillers when they're a little more artsy. People want to like label them as horror because some of the visuals can be more like surreal or, you know, just not quite realistic, and then people sort of, I don't know, it seems to get swept into the horror genre because of that.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of understand it, but also I don't.
I think the film is definitely message heavy, and that is either going to work for you or it isn't. And I think that will definitely, you know, depend on that will determine on whether or not you like the film. If you go along with what it is and you don't get too wrapped up in it, as far as like what the message is, and that like offends you, or you think that that's, you know, some agenda or whatever, then yeah, I mean, it's probably not gonna be your movie. But I will say that I turned to her about 20 minutes in, was like, okay, this is probably what was happening. And I was half right with what I said to her, and then the other rest of it, I was thinking about it in my head. So it's not a super hard film to guess what's going on, especially since the trailer does show so much of the film.
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff from basically the third act in the trailer. So you really, like, I knew beat for beat what was going to happen going in the trailer, watching the trailer, and I've seen the trailer a bunch because they play it before every movie. So when we were sitting there, I was just like, oh, I hope that's not too far into the film, and it 100% is. Like, I feel like every big scene throughout the film, a scene from it is in the trailer.
Yeah.
And basically tells you the meat of what that scene is going to be. Right? Like, the trailer gives away too much. There's no doubt about it. They should have went for more of this, like, ambiguous, really artistic heavy, and focus on the popularity of Florence Pugh, or stuff like that. Because that's honestly why I was the most interested, is because of Florence. Because I'm a big Midsommar fan, and I like her in general. So I was like sold when I saw that she was in it, and that it was, you know, either horror or thriller. I was like, oh, sign me up. And all I really needed was some of those cool visuals that you see within this film, and her kind of maybe being a little frantic, and I would have been like, sold.
Sure.
But they wanted to sell it to more of an audience, and most people forget trailers.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I don't, and so the trailer definitely was too much. As far as this, yeah, all right. So we're gonna talk spoilers for like a minute here, probably more in a minute, but not too long. So if you haven't seen it, shut it off. But I do think it's a good movie, and if you're somebody who gets like triggered by like women empowering or man hating movies or something, really easily, then this film's probably gonna piss you off.
Yeah.
And I don't care, but I just want to tell you so you don't bother wasting your time and then bitching about it on there. Them. That's not a real trigger warning. I was more joking because that's their favorite words.
I recommend this movie. I think you should see it.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it does have a good message, and I think it is very relevant to the time that we live in. So spoilers from here on. We're just talking about this really quick. So if you haven't seen it, shut off. So as far as the ending goes and the twist and all of this and that, we talked about this a little bit, and just how, there are some men out there, not all, let's calm down, fellas, that, want things to go back to the way they were, and thought of those times as better times, And this is a man, Harry Styles, whose, thought process is only in one direction. Nothing? No?
He's only in one direction. Oh, one. Oh,
yeah, there it is.
I get it.
Now you got it. Anyways, moving on. I was proud of that joke, and you were just gone.
Well, I just was like, I'm not a Harry Styles fan, and I never listened to One Direction, so it took me a second.
I think he's a really good actor.
It was a good joke. He actually, I agree. I don't really know if I've seen him in anything else.
He's only ever been in Dunkirk. And
that's right. Oh my
Eternals.
God, I can't believe I forgot Dunkirk, because he was really good in that.
He's in Eternals as well.
And he's in Eternals. He was really good in this. I enjoyed his performance.
Yeah.
Because he has obviously, multiple roles that he's playing. So we see like the charming version that he wants to be, and then the actual version of who he is.
Who he is,
Which
yeah.
is, yeah.
Which is, yeah, I mean, the film is sad because, you know, like you said, she is happy, but when you don't choose your life and you're being gaslit, is that happiness authentic?
No.
Right? So that's, of course, an issue.
Yeah.
And this isn't about her, right? Like, this is about him. He's the one that can't hold a job. She's a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? She works in the freaking ER. She is definitely making money. And they can't make ends meet because this guy can't hold down a job. And it sucks. Things are tough. But, you know, he's this dude who sits on the internet and he's listening to these voices about, like, we need to take the power back. And so they enslave their wives back into an archaic thought process of that, like, nuclear family. And, you know, the whole idea. Now, they don't go for the kids. And I think that that's really just him not wanting, like, he knows what that is, right? If they have kids, it's fake.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go down that road. Now, how much of her is her in this film, that I'm unclear of. I don't know how much of her personality she takes with her, how much of her remains from the doctor that she was and the person that she was. Like, she clearly doesn't have any medical knowledge anymore, right? I shouldn't say clearly, but it seems like she doesn't have any memory of ever going to medical school. Therefore, she has no memory of any kind of medicine or surgery or any of those things. But, like, who we see in the flashbacks before he puts her in this hell, this paradise hell, I'll just say it's the kidnapping. Yeah, she's overworked and we don't really get a good sense of who she is. So I'm not really sure if this matches up or they just brainwash them into being the perfect wife and it doesn't really matter. This reminds me a lot of a fantastic Twilight Zone episode called The Number 12 Looks Just Like You, or The Number 12 Looks Like You. I can never remember what the title is because there's a band that has the other name, which is based on that episode, but one of them has just and one of them doesn't. It doesn't matter. But it's just like the goal in life is to just be happy and pretty and to conform. And as long as you can do that, like, why wouldn't you want that?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, like we were talking, I think as far as her original personality, we don't really see anything, as you said. You know, she's working a lot. And I think that she is brainwashed, you know, even if her happiness is authentic in the moment to her, and, like, you know, her personality in the moment is as authentic as it can be. It's not truly authentic because it's not her choice, and because, you know, she's not, you know, no emotion other than the pleasant ones are what is acceptable in that situation. And, you know, it's really shitty because I don't think that guys, like, totally understand the pressure that women have to be smiling all the time, or to be nice, or to be, like, a certain way, to look good. And it's, you know, it's obviously changing a lot with the times. People aren't as stereotypically sexist as they used to be in, like, the 50s, for example. But their relationship, I feel very mixed feelings about, because on one hand, I think that he does love her, and I think she loves him, but I think it's that, like, I want a mom / wife, like, I want someone to take care of me but be sexy and pretty and, like, perfect all the time, like the doll fantasy. So I don't know if it's that he truly loves her or if he just loves his version of her that he wants to be able to control, you know. And that's like where the horror is in this, right? Is like, she's in a very toxic, very, very toxic relationship, but, you know, as we were saying, she is happy to some extent. She does like it, And I think that a lot of people who are in like abusive relationships have that part of themselves where they're like, well, when it's good, it's really good and I like it and I'm happy. But then of course, you know, there's all the darkness underneath, you know, that shouldn't be there.
I wonder what he does for work when he's not
God.
in there. Like, he has to pay the bills to be able to keep them in there. Mm-hmm. And what has he told people about her?
Right.
Did she die? Like, what happened to her when he put her under this hypnosis? As far as the reveal of the technology and it just kind of like filtering over their eyes, I didn't like that. I thought that was pretty cheap and lame. It should be like full body immersion outside of your eyeballs, because in there she's complete, like she can feel things and she can do. Sure. And I don't understand how that thing would make what happens in there as real as it is. It doesn't make any sense to me. You'd have to have, you know, a machine that she's put into, and it actually is like connected to at least like her spine or something.
Style.
Matrix, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I don't know. That just feels silly, and I know they're going for like a Black Mirror thing here. I really did enjoy the style. I really did enjoy the soundtrack. And I think as long as you don't question it too much and you're not too caught up in like, oh, you know, some agenda, I think I think the people will enjoy it. It's just, you know, you've always got to see what the story is trying to tell you. And the reality is, and if you don't know this, I don't know where you've been living, but there are a lot of men in the world that would 100% be super down for this.
Yes.
And would be the first people to sign up to entrapping their life in a wife in a perfect life, but perfect to the husband.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people will sit there, maybe some people will try to sit in the comments and be like, oh, well, I mean, what's so terrible? Our life is amazing and this and that. Yeah, did you see how the life is catered to what the men want?
Yes, 100%.
Right? Like, 100%. She was a doctor. Why can't she be a doctor in this world?
Yeah, she can't use her brain.
Like, why not? Why can't you put her in the fantasy? Like, we're going to go in the fantasy. Why can't they, A, agree to it together?
Yes.
B, why can't she do whatever she wants? It's fucking fantasy.
Yeah.
So, can't she be the doctor that she wants to be and they make all the money that they want? She says she loves her job. Yeah. That she loves working. So can't she go? She doesn't have to work 30 hours anymore. She can just work the hours she wants because it's a fantasy. No, this is what he wants. 100%. He goes off to work. She stays home. She cleans. She does. No, this is this is not a good life.
No.
She just is being deluded into believing it's a great life, as were so many women for so long.
Yes.
So that's the point of the movie. Is hearkening back to a time where women were brainwashed into believing that this was happiness, and how we now still have men who want to go back to a place like that, even though it's against what women would actually want. But they don't care because they seem to think that was when things were best.
Right. It's the like natural order of things. And it's funny because it's like they kind of keep telling the women, like, the men have such an important job, but so do we. Like, we have to take care of them. Like, if we don't give them food and sex and all these things, they can't perform and like change the world and whatnot. And it's just such bullshit. It's such sexist bullshit that used to be a real mentality that like a large portion of the population was behind. And there's a big difference between being like house trained versus wanting to care for your partner and support them, because that's not at all wrong, you know, to want to feed your partner and to want to clean up, but there's a shared responsibility there. And you do it together. You don't have one person that's only doing this. Of course, I mean, you know, as I'm saying this, I'm like, every relationship's different. So if somebody out there has a dynamic like this and it works for them, then that's fine.
I was just going to say that.
But the key is that it's a choice and it's consensual. And everything in this movie, at least for Florence Pugh's character, is not consensual. And she doesn't choose to live that way. And that is obviously unacceptable.
Sure, I mean, Olivia Wilde's character chooses to be there. She wants to be there. Now, she's there for her children, which are, fantasy. They're copies of what her kids were, because her children died and she couldn't handle it, so she went into this reality. Now, why she's able to be aware and the other wives aren't, I don't know. Maybe if your wife's down for it, you can tell them. I don't know. Regardless, yes, what Kaylee was saying, and what I wanted to reiterate really quick is, like, I'm in no way thinking or saying that to have this dynamic that is in this film, the old school 50s, style of relationship where the woman stays at home and does the cooking and cleaning and whatever, and the man goes off to work and he provides, as the breadwinner. If that's the dynamic that works for you and you're genuinely happy, that's fantastic. And I'm not in any way dismissing that or belittling that or putting that down or saying that that's wrong. But as she said, it's about the choice, right? And if Florence Pugh signed up for this,
sure, yeah.
And she was like, yeah, hell yeah, man, I don't know if I could be a doctor anymore. I don't want to work. I mean, I'm totally fine with going to the 50s and living this kind of old school life, because that'd be much easier for me. As long as we got the place and I can just live in ignorance is bliss. You want to brainwash me? And she agreed to it. Then that's her choice.
Yeah.
But this clearly wasn't her choice. She was kidnapped and forced into what some people would see as idyllic, but not for her.
No.
And that's what she's screaming in the end. Like, no, this isn't my choice. So,
yeah. I love that, this is a female directed and female written movie. And I think we need, more of those, of course, of everybody, everything should have a voice in, horror. And I like seeing, of course, women get their voice. So,
sure.
It's a cool movie.
You freaking sexist, agenda-driven piece of garbage.
I reckon.
You want to have a voice, too? You don't want everything to be about hetero, white males? How could you? How could you? All right, guys. Let us know if you saw it. And as I always say, if you're still here, I hope you saw the damn thing. But if not, and you just wanted the blow-by-blow, there you go. Now it's been ruined for you.
Blow-by-blow.
Yeah. It's a boxing term. Yeah. It's not like a prostitution.
It's not like a blowjob.
It's like porno reviews. So yeah, like and subscribe and follow all the stuff down in the description. And we are going to be doing our very first watch party tomorrow exclusively for our patrons, which we need to announce in another video right now.
Yeah.
So
let's
record that. Bye.